Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in. This is going to be a very fun and amusing segment. And it's also important because you have a public relations monstrosity, ladies and gentlemen. A public relations machine that isn't focused on truth. If your vantage point is different from my own, if you did not vote for Trump, whereas I voted for Trump, that's totally fine. You can have your viewpoint as to why you voted for our beloved President Biden. You could think that President Biden's a better president. You can say, I don't like Trump's personality. No problem. You could say, I don't like Trump's policies. No problem. What is completely absurd is if you equate him to authoritarians when you're trying to suppress discussion, when you're calling him every name under the sun and accusing him of things you cannot prove in a court of law. And you do this 24/7, not just with CNN, with everybody. And now you have Brian Stelter of CNN being completely, I don't know what the word would be, but demolished by a colleague who does the same thing himself. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. Tell your friends about this channel. To my moderators, Eric and Luke, thank you so very, very much. To my super chat, if you want to give me your thoughts on CNN or anything else, or any questions or any discussion that you want everybody to hear, to the super chat, thank you so very much. You give me every incentive, ladies and gentlemen, to rock these live streams. I don't have $20 million in venture capital funding like some people. I don't have a multinational organization like CNN. You would think, so to my super chat, thank you. You would think that Brian Stelter would have, or anyone at CNN would have, an instant advantage with a book. Let's say they write a book. They have the luxury of being in all the venues that just simply watch CNN as like part of the background. So you're going to be in airports, you're going to be in hotels, you're going to be in a whole bunch of places that are just going to just put CNN, like, if you're waiting for, if you're at the doctor's office, you're going to be in places that are just going to put CNN on no matter what, okay? And they talk about Trump's base. You're going to have a base of people, especially because of the crisis we've experienced in the past year, who just park themselves on the couch and they're going to watch CNN or MSNBC no matter what. CK, thank you. They're going to watch CNN or MSNBC no matter what. And they're not really going to ask if the information is accurate. And every story, ladies and gentlemen, they don't like Democrats don't like Fox News. There's one Fox News, one. And it's not like, and not everybody on that network really supports Trump. There's MSNBC and CNN, and then you have ABC, NBC, and CBS. They don't deviate that much, okay? But you have 24/7 cable news leveled against one man, 24/7. Forget about the entire American political establishment where you have prosecutors in New York and you have even Republicans who investigated Trump. They cannot, here's the main thing. They cannot actually accuse him in a court of law. So you can say whatever you like. If you're Brian or Anderson or Chris or Don or Rachel or anybody on television, you can say pretty much whatever you like. It does not have to be accurate at all. You simply have to quote a source, an unnamed source, or people familiar with the matter, or a book. Or you can appeal to an authority. And appeals to authority are almost always a logical fallacy. Actually, they're always a logical fallacy. Appeals to authority are always a logical fallacy when you're trying to prove a point. When you're trying to prove a point or argue or debate and, back your claim, you cannot simply say, I'm right because I've spoken to experts who agree with me. You can't simply say, well, I've spoken to county officials and those people agree with me. You can't simply say that. That is not a rebuttal. That is not a vantage point that you can back up in a court of law. So, like, for example, with the Arizona recount, they're going to have to all the fact check, like the PolitiFact and CNN and Associated Press. When they fact check Trump, they're going to have to make sure, because when they say, well, Trump lied, how do we know? We spoke. We spoke to people familiar with the matter who are experts, and they said that Trump doesn't know what he's talking about, or Republicans in Arizona don't know what they're talking about. But it goes beyond. It goes beyond that. Like they're going to have to actually go to court and actually prove, okay, the 74,000 plus discrepancy. Well, that was because of an honest mistake. Nobody doubts the number, but they're going to actually have to prove that in a court of law. You can't just simply have a Twitter thread saying, yeah, this is exactly what it's likely to be, and Trump is confusing, or Arizona Republicans are confusing this one set of numbers with another set of numbers, and that's a likely scenario, and that's a plausible explanation, and that's almost certainly what happened. You can't just simply do that. You cannot do that. That is not logic. Paul, hello. That's not logic, but because it's even worse. When we're talking about CNN, we're talking about, you remember the movie The Hunger Games? Who remembers The Hunger Games? Or like, it is this dystopian, Orwellian public relations machine. It's not journalism. You're not talking about, journalism no longer exists in this country. It no longer exists. There are outlets here and there, mainly conservative ones, but like there are very few outlets that want to just find truth. Okay? Reason Magazine, if you read Reason Magazine, that's probably one of the most unbiased, nonpartisan, purely journalistic publications. Reason. Okay? There are conservative publications that have a conservative viewpoint, and there's like a handful of really good conservative publications. And everyone on the planet is basically regurgitating and parroting the same talking point. Everyone on the planet is saying the exact same thing. And it's like CNN and MSNBC, the New York Times and the Washington Post, what they do is they don't have any, like Stelter and others, they never had anything tangible. They never had anything in a court of law that could be proven against Trump. In a court of law, the reason that Trump is not indicted or charged with anything is that he never committed a crime. This is a fact. You can't say, like, basic logic. Utilize basic logic. When you're trying to evaluate CNN and their, distorted, warped reality that they try to communicate every single day, if Trump was guilty, Ryder, hello. If Trump was guilty of everything that he was accused of on CNN, he would have been tried and convicted a long time ago. This is a public relations machine. It's not journalism. This is not about truth. Okay? Truth is independent of the Democratic Party and Republican Party. Truth is independent of what political parties or what suits or what benefits political parties. If you search for truth, you don't care if you have Hunter's emails that harm Biden, or I'm trying to think of a story, or President Trump not being correct about one vantage point pertaining to the pandemic. Okay, you don't care if you are objective. If you're a journalist, you shouldn't care if what you're looking at helps the Democratic Party or what you're looking at helps the Republican Party. But you have NPR going after the Daily Wire now. All you have is one viewpoint. One viewpoint. You have one viewpoint being promoted by almost every single major quote unquote journalist or pundit. And Michael Wolff, what he did is try to differentiate himself. See, what's interesting is that they both promulgate the same things. They both try to promote. They both try to Michael Wolff has books that paint Trump in a negative light. He would never write those types of books, although he could, with Biden. You can write a book based on sources and events that people recall with Biden. You can write probably several books on his accuser and what she experienced, what she possibly experienced, his reaction to it. You can write a book on, you could write a whole volume of books on his son's business activities. You could do a whole Clinton Cash type book. You can write a book on our vice president and her. There was a lab in Northern California that actually, where the technicians were how do I say this? Utilizing the substances that were analyzed for personal use. The substances that were obtained to get convictions in a court of law. Okay. And that she helped, or she was a part of, putting away innocent people. You can say she actually fought payments to somebody who was wrongfully accused. Hello? You want to write about that in this day and age? Of course they won't. They're petrified. They have to. You remember Spinal Tap, the movie Spinal Tap? The volume goes to 11, past 10. Okay? The reason that they're petrified that anyone would actually agree with Trump, like 74, they pretend every day that 74 million Americans didn't vote for President Trump. They pretend every day. And the reason that they're petrified is that they don't really have arguments that resonate. They have hyperbole. They have this sanctimonious, which is what Michael Wolff, how he describes Stelter. This sanctimonious, morally superior act. This is an act. They don't have the same value system. They don't utilize the same value system when it comes to judging themselves or Democrats. That's what makes them morally inferior in many respects. If you're comparing Trump to an authoritarian or a despot, you lack knowledge of history. You're just wallowing in ignorance. Or you've suspended basic logic because you actually don't have an argument, a rational argument against Trump. He's a person who has this personality you can't stand, and millions upon millions of people think that they'd rather have Trump than our beloved president right now. And you equate that to the mistake that millions upon millions made in different times in world history that have no comparison, they have no link to today. Yad Vashem in Jerusalem told AOC, and I wrote about this in the Jerusalem Post. Read my Jerusalem Post op-ed on AOC on hagoodman.com. Yad Vashem in Jerusalem said, learn more about the topic. They could have said a lot more. You have millions upon millions upon millions of lives lost when true despots and authoritarians, true monsters, were able to get away with what they got away with, or were able to do what they did. And they ramp up, like, you have to understand something. 2022 is going to be the beginning of the end of all of this hysteria pertaining to Trump. Because that's going to be a defeat, and that's going to be the beginning of a Republican Party that actually offers the United States a different vantage point. You, like Mitt Romney and Cheney and Kinzinger and others, they're basically Democrats. There's no difference. Policy-wise, you have Kinzinger and Cheney voting over 90% with Trump in Congress. But they're not disagreeing on societal issues. They're not even talking about issues that could paint them in a negative light. Topics where they almost certainly agree with Trump on. Topics where they almost certainly agree with Ben Shapiro on. I mean, I respect Ben Shapiro greatly. You might not agree with him politically on everything, but he's out there, and he is, I look at the people who are out there, Ben Shapiro, two different political viewpoints, somewhat different. If you look at Mark Dice, you look at Ben Shapiro, you can look at a whole bunch of people. They're out there on the forefront of issues that Kinzinger or Cheney or others wouldn't even touch. Mitt Romney wouldn't even touch these issues or these topics. Whether or not you agree, I'm not saying I agree with Ben Shapiro on everything. I'm saying at least he's trying to, or Mark Dice with everything, but at least they're at the forefront. Like they're actually fighting for free speech. And the Democrats and media, what they want is the following. They want speech curtailed because too much debate and discussion would refute or would defeat their arguments. You can't have, like, I saw the way this works firsthand on a very small scale, ladies and gentlemen. I saw the way this works on a very small scale. Like in 2015, 2016, they did everything possible to try to mitigate. I wouldn't say at that point silence, but they try to marginalize my viewpoint with hit pieces. The Daily Beast wrote an unethical hit piece against me, inaccurate and unethical hit piece, and I was on the left. Or I should just say they published one. Raw Story published a couple. There was one publication that no longer exists. These types of publications, like, they'll take a picture of you, and it's just like, it's like 8th grade stuff, where like you're in mid-sentence. Like this one publication that no longer exists, it's they'll go ahead and they took pictures of me, like, in mid-sentence, like that, like, and so it's like they start off with the really bad photo because they just want to make you look bad. So they start off with the really bad photo, and then it's like, well, of course he was always a Trump supporter. Well, of course he was, he has this irrational viewpoint. You shouldn't listen to him. Like, the way that media works is that if they hear something that is against the interests of one political party, it doesn't have to be Trump. It could be Tulsi Gabbard. It could be anybody who doesn't fit a certain, a certain vantage point. They write negative stories about that person. If it's the president's son, oh, look, he's an artist now. Oh, look, this is the new Hunter S. Thompson. Wow, how did you survive this turbulent life to become a role model? It's so, that's why the average American doesn't trust media. They know that everybody from NPR to the Washington Post to the New York Times, CNN, MSNBC, Vanity Fair, Esquire, BuzzFeed, Rolling Stone, Daily Beast, Los Angeles Times. You could just go down the list. Think of New York Magazine, The Atlantic. They're all writing the same things. They don't. The Economist. Sometimes you'll get a little bit something different from The Economist, but they're not that much different from the Washington Post. It's always the prevailing narrative or mentality is Trump is bad no matter what. None of the publications, he had to endure 92% negative media coverage. CNN was the most fanatical and, hysterical when it came to reporting on Trump, along with MSNBC. But, JB, if you could email me at contactgoodman78@gmail.com, JB, if you could email me, I do not have, thank you, JB, I appreciate that. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you ever hear my voice anywhere else other than H.A. Goodman and H.A. Goodman's other channel, could you report that, can you report that to YouTube? Because that's not my voice. So, JB, thank you so very much. If you could email me, JB, at contactgoodman78@gmail.com. There have been people emailing me, but I have to notify YouTube because, you always have these channels that pop up and utilize people's voices. And I definitely don't want to be associated with, anybody that tries to take my work for their own purposes. JB, thank you again. Paul, hello. Indy, hello. So, the bottom line is, the following. They don't want any other viewpoint out there because they don't have enough fact or they don't have enough facts on their side, and they don't have enough logic. They don't have compelling enough arguments to suppress any suspicion from what President Trump communicates to people. So this is the Arizona Republic sham election on its evangelical believers will never be swayed by facts. Okay, so they could be right. The Arizona Republic could be right. But there are question marks that still haven't been addressed categorically in Arizona. Factcheck.org, debunking Trump's latest election claims. It's the same article. I've done 5 different segments. I might just do another segment on this later tonight. I might do another segment later tonight, a live stream, or this might be the last live stream this evening. I'm not sure. But, okay, so according to an investigation by the Associated Press, that's their rebuttal. According to an investigation by another publication, we're factcheck.org. We're going to prove that Trump is wrong by appealing to authority. Trump claimed the following. Maricopa County officials said, it's a he said, she said type thing. This is not, you are not, what they're desperate. See, this is a battle for emotion. This is all about emotion. This is all about emotion. It's all about emotion, ladies and gentlemen. They desperately, they are petrified. They are absolutely petrified that anyone would feel suspicion. They don't want anyone to be suspicious of them. If they hear something in a book about Trump, it's not a problem. They don't need to verify it. They'll just run with the story. It's not a problem at all. Thank you, the Bill ABC TV. Thank you. Actually, the Bill ABC TV, thank you. I'm sure I received your email. If you could email me again, if you have that link still. But yeah, thank you for that. But see, there was this CNN journalist. He used to work for the Washington Post. Chris Cillizza wrote an article today about Tom Brady. Okay? The title of the article is interesting. Donald Trump's favorite athlete just mocked the big lie. Okay? To the man who beat him. This is journalism today. He's CNN editor at large. This is with everything going on in the world today, with everything, even in the United States of America, but the world. And then there's one about Chelsea Handler that I can't even read. Sounds like a perfect match for our beloved president's son. Donald Trump's favorite athlete just mocked the big lie. Oh my God! Nobody cares about this. I don't even think this is the same article written. It's just, here's the template. Headline that disparages Trump in any way possible. Headline that disparages Trump in any way possible, and then you just run with it. Tuesday was not a good day for Donald Trump. What, you think that Trump cares? After 4 years of nonstop negative media coverage, you think he cares? Thank you, JB. I appreciate that, JB. Thank you. Jack, hello. You think he cares? His favorite athlete went to the White House to celebrate winning the Super Bowl, and Trump wasn't there. And what's worse, they laughed at him! ! This is actually published in one of the biggest news organizations in the world, CNN, the worldwide leader in trusted name for news. Yes, Tom Brady, famed quarterback of the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers, was at the White House to celebrate that victory with President Joe Biden. And yes, Brady, who is not exactly known for his comedic timing, trolled Trump's ongoing insistence that he won. He trolled him, everybody. Trump was being trolled, everybody. It's 7 months, 8 months since he lost. Biden has been president practically all of this year. What does he have to show for it? You got exactly what you want. This is why they're so apoplectic always. This is why they're so apoplectic always. They don't have anything to show for pretty much dominating American political thought, American political institutions. They have the House. Think of how pathetic and weak and ineffective you have to be. Think about this for a second, ladies and gentlemen. Think about this for a second. You have the House, you have the Senate, you have the presidency, you have the Washington Post, basically as a mouthpiece of the Democratic Party. So Washington Post, the New York Times, MSNBC, CNN, Vanity Fair, Esquire, Rolling Stone, Mother Jones, The Nation, BuzzFeed, Daily Beast, Los Angeles Times, The Atlantic, New York Magazine, pretty much The Economist, pretty much every other major, The Guardian, BBC, pretty much every major political publication or, CBS, NBC, ABC, they're all saying the same thing. The Washington Post has a story, unnamed sources, where Trump could have worked with, the Kremlin. Everyone is parroting the same story. They truly believe still that he worked with Russia. That you can't, and these are the same people who are so indignant that 74 million Americans would believe what they view to be a complete big lie, when they believe lies themselves, but they're the ones who are parroting and regurgitating and promulgating and promoting the lies that benefit them. And so it's like they have every single conceivable advantage. They have every single possible advantage, and still President Trump would easily become GOP nominee. 74 million Americans would completely disregard anything they say, and no matter what they say on any topic, you're going to have half the country not believe them. 74 million Americans do not trust CNN. They do not trust CNN or MSNBC or the Washington Post or the New York Times. If they trusted them, they wouldn't vote for Trump. You have pretty much half the electorate. And you say, well, Biden got, 10 million more, so 8 million more. Well, you have every single possible advantage. Freedom autopsy! System has affected the minds of, they believe he got communism, right? Yeah, I don't know. That's a really bizarre, what's taking place is a very bizarre dynamic. Freedom Autopsy Report. Thank you. Freedom Autopsy Report is a very bizarre dynamic. And now you have Biden, who isn't even, who has not reversed President Trump's tariffs. Freedom Autopsy Report, thank you. I mean, it's interesting. You have this, now they're kind of, admitting that the origins issue could be legitimate. Gee, maybe. Freedom Autopsy, thank you so much for starting it off. Thank you so very much. I mean, it's just bizarre. I don't want a kind of, I don't want rising tensions with any world power. I don't think, like, you look at any country in the world, whether it's Russia or the country that's the most populous country in the world. I don't want any, like, I look at it like every country out there is going to do what's in their own best interest. They're going to do what's in their own best interest. You have to make sure that you are not actively undermining your own interests. Or you have to make sure that you promote your interests as a country. In many ways, President Trump was doing that, and they couldn't stand it. Like the tariffs, there were endless articles. Tariffs aren't working. Oh, it's really horrible. It's really bad. I mean, these are trade unions that asked for tariffs themselves. These are the American trade unions. The AFL-CIO asked for tariffs. They were asking President Obama to engage in the same types of tariffs. If Biden or if Trump, implemented, a greater, tariffs that were greater or more widespread. Indy Wood, Indy, thank you, Indy. Real news. F Beach Street's myself. Wow. Real News Headquarters, thank you. Wow. Indy Wood, thank you. Freedom, thank you. And that's another thing also, like, the whole Facebook thing, like, the whole... I don't understand. There shouldn't be an issue with, like, the issue of fake news. There shouldn't be even a problem. Because a functioning democracy, a functioning society should give enough respect to its citizens to just allow them to differentiate what's true or what's false. There are the fact-checking organizations took 4 years off when the fanatic, hysterical, apoplectic news coverage of Trump and Russia was a daily thing. They never utilized the same standards of logic. They never appealed to authorities that didn't agree with them or experts that didn't agree with them. There were enough people. There were enough conservatives or Trump supporters out there who could easily refute the absurd arguments being published on a daily basis. But they were never contacted by the fact-checking organizations. You will never get an expert that ever sides with Trump. In journalism, today you will never get an expert, and this type of thing never happened before 2016. It really never happened. You never heard experts say that Mitt Romney is wrong. You didn't hear that. That is something new. That is like a complete breakdown in basic logic. Experts saying Trump is wrong is not an argument. It's not. It actually makes you look bad because it shows that you can't really refute anything he's saying. But I mean, Stelter, you look at his. I'm trying to make this not about him, The Safe Cat! The Safe Cat, thank you! Number one fan, thank you, The Safe Cat! Thank you so very much. Awesome name. Awesome name. Thank you, The Safe Cat. Thank you. Thank you so very, very much. Greatly appreciated. The Safe Cat, thank you. Thank you. You look at, I forgot where I was. The Safe Cat, thank you. Where was I? Where was I? Eric, Luke. I'm sure I'm putting everybody to sleep and nobody knows where I was. What was I just talking about at this very moment? The Safe Cat, thank you so very, very much. I do appreciate that greatly. Oh, Stelter. he, on one hand, is no different. He's no different from the same. He's the same person. What is the difference between and it's this indignation, this fanaticism. Okay, the one thing about Trump that I don't think Democrats or media or people on the left realize, the one thing about Trump, he doesn't care if you vote for him or not. And he doesn't care what you believe either. And that's like a good thing about President Trump. Should he just calm down a little bit with rhetoric or certain, not social media issues? Yes, he should. I think so. It would benefit him. But he doesn't care who you vote for, and he really doesn't care what you think about anything. Democrats are petrified. Media is absolutely every day frightened and petrified that you would think something different from the prevailing mentality. Because they know. Do you understand? Lives are at risk. Lives could be lost if you don't listen to them. And then, even if you can look at, they're completely blindsided all the time. They were trying to impeach Trump immediately before the pandemic. And then they were actually trying to, you look at certain proclamations from Democratic lawmakers, and then they just get away with it. Oh, well, we didn't know much back then. It's like, wait, what? You were more. They made statements that were even more egregious than what anything President Trump stated, and they get away with it. Everyone has been to high school, and everybody understands the type of thing that's taking place, which is why you have half the country still supporting Trump and half the country who will always support Trump, is that in high school or middle school, and this is, one of the benefits of other types of schooling, but everyone's been to high school. We all know that there are sometimes, unfortunately, people being picked on, and that's a huge issue now, but it's always been an issue. We've always seen a group of kids, a group of students unfairly treat somebody. You could have been that person, I could have been that person, but we've always seen that. There's always been that dynamic. And this is like a dysfunctional 8th grade class. American journalism is a dysfunctional 8th or 9th grade class where there are the cool kids, there are people who are in the in crowd, and that's pretty much everybody who doesn't like Trump. And then there's that one kid, Trump, who actually stands up for himself, but he is just always viewed like they constantly try to torment him, and at the end of the day, it really doesn't work. So, and they view him to be a bully while they engage in the same behavior every single day. Rochelle, Laura, H.A. do Peter Lorre, the Rick, somehow because you despise me, you are the one I trust, Casablanca. I am so embarrassed to say I haven't seen all of Casablanca. I've seen like here and there, but I really should see the whole thing. But I was told I look like Peter Lorre. Rochelle, thank you so very much. I wish I could. Rick, somehow because you despise me, you're the only one I trust. Thank you. Rochelle, I wish I could do that. Rochelle Laura, I wish I could do that. I wish I could. Rochelle, thank you so very, very, very much. Thank you very, very much. You look, ladies and gentlemen, and Rochelle, thank you so much. You look, ladies and gentlemen, and Let me read this really quickly. Why don't you speak with serious intent? Stop repeating. You ever actually support him? Just sorry excuses. Very boring. Oh, I'm reading somebody's critique. The best is when somebody critiques you, and they're like, "I just want to know I'm unsubbing. Henceforth, here and forever, I'm unsubbing from you. I just want to let you know that whereas before I used to watch you, but now I'm not watching you anymore. Why? Because I'm unsubbing. How can I watch you if I'm unsubbing? I'm unsubbing right now. Unsub! Let the world know. Let it ring from sea to shiny sea. Let this reverberate throughout the galaxy. I'm unsubbing from H.A. Badman. Anyway, you look at Stelter, and it's like Michael Wolff is correct, even though Michael Wolff does the same thing as Stelter. He did the same thing. He really did the same thing. But he basically he is sanctimonious. That's the issue. It's the morals, it's the belief that you're morally superior. You're not morally superior because you dislike Trump. Because you are very likely ignorant as to why people like him. If you don't understand, if you think that the only reason people like Trump is because of negative impulses or things that are not, like, issues that are not worthy, or, not worthy enough to, or not legitimate enough to vote for somebody of, this type of individual, then you're an ignorant person who is likely a narcissist and has a tremendous amount of hubris, and you're unable to see why or how other people could deviate from your viewpoint. They've tried desperately. You have to understand, it's not just this CNN host. They've tried desperately. They have tried desperately to basically prevent him from ever running again. Thank you, the Bill ABC TV. Thank you. Greatly appreciated. Thank you. And you look, ladies and gentlemen, let's see here. This is hilarious. The New York Times, why Biden? This is so hilarious. They're now trying to say that Biden is tougher on the most populous country in the world than Trump. This is categorically not true. This is unbelievably not. It's not true at all. At all. On many respects. Then they're like, Trump ally charged as agent of foreign nation. You know how many Democrats you could do the same thing with? But see, that's the thing. The issue is that they revel in every conviction associated with Trump, and they don't realize that everyone knows they're out to get Trump. It's not necessarily about the rule of law. It's that if you've worked with Trump, or you're part of his inaugural committee, or you're his personal lawyer, or you have it's a target. They want to indict you or convict you or investigate you. And you could look at, if it's Uma Abedin's husband, or, just recently a Democrat, I think it was in Minnesota, any type of scandal or controversy from the Democratic aisle or the Democratic divide, they'll just completely disregard or ignore. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. I will probably almost certainly be back at like 11 p.m., so in 1 hour or so. I'm going to take a bit of a break. I'll be back in 1 hour. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much to my super chat. Thank you, Luke and Eric. I will try my best to be back in about 1 hour if you guys are up for it. Thanks, everybody. Have a fantastic evening. Thank you so very much.